at the Rwanda Stock Exchange, and so on. So don't limit yourself, think outside the box, and definitely that will also add a little bit more to your value. Looking at the Salaam Stock Exchange, you have several listed companies here on the Salaam Stock Exchange, and when you look at their performance, you see East African Breweries came out as a loser at the bottom here, and also we had Jatu coming in as a loser. You had Nico coming in as a loser as well, and the DCB, Dar es Salaam Commercial Bank, also coming in as a loser, mainly about 4 losers and just 2 gainers. That was KCB and CRDB Development Bank, and these came in at the top positions with a 2.6% gain and a 1.28% gain respectively. And the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange has over 29 stock listed equities on the market, and you can always look at these stocks as well if you're looking at investing in the markets here in East Africa, because these are some of the leading stocks here in East Africa, and Dar es Salaam provides definitely a wider market, an even wider market, with the 29 listed equities on the exchange. However, still you can see not so much activity based on the data we have here, and with these 4 counters losing, still their index is not doing that well. It's still on the losing side, but we hope really for the best when it comes to this counter in the future, but you can still be able to access and be able to trade on the counter as well. That is of course the chart there showing you the pricings in Tanzanian shillings. Those are prices of the stock in Tanzanian shillings there, and you can check out more on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange website for better knowledge of what happened on their market. Let's cross over to Nairobi. Nairobi Securities Exchange on aggregate yesterday traded about 48 equities, and amongst these 48 equities we had 20 gainers who came in and about 15 losers. Kapchora Tea Company came in as the top gainer at 5.99%. Share price appreciation closing at 106.25 Kenyan shillings per share, followed by Liberty Kenya Holdings at 3.85% gain, and then Kabaseed Investments at 2.61% gain, while Scan Group came in at 2.33% gain. On the losing side, we had Samia Africa, who came out with an end of day price depreciation of about 9.74% at Kenyan shillings 3.25 per share closing price there. Nairobi Business Ventures also came out as a loser at an 8.31% loss, and BOC Commercial Bank of Kenya came in at also a loss of 8.13%, while Sasini Tea and Coffee came in at a 7.14% loss. Safaricom recorded the highest volume of 6.9 million shares traded, followed by Equity Group Holdings at 3.13 million shares, and Kenya Power and Lighting Company at 1.78 million shares that were traded, while KenGen traded 898,100 shares per session yesterday for trading. At the end of the day's trading, there was a total volume of 15,469,000 shares, 400 shares that were traded, and this corresponds to a market value of over 430 million Kenyan shillings. As you can see, that's the performance of the all share index. That's the aggregate for all the stocks here on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And regarding this index, it went up by 1.73 points, and what was a 1.24 percentage gain, closing at 139.94 points, representing a 1 week gain of 1.03% and a 4 week gain of 5.86%, but an overall year-to-date loss of 15.93% on the stock market. Let's look at the top gainer here, Kapchora Tea Company. Kapchora Tea Company is a Kenyan company engaged in cultivation and manufacture and then the sale of tea in Kenya. And as of March 2002, the company's mature planted area was about 661.75 hectares, and immature planted area was about 23 hectares. And during the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2002, Kapchora Tea Company Limited's tea production was 3,465 kilograms, of which 1,789 kilograms was from its own estate, and about 1,676 kilograms was bought leaf. Kapchora Tea Company Limited is listed on the NSE since several years ago, back then in 2002, and then it trades under the ticker symbol KAPC with the International Securities Identification Number of UKE 04000170, and Kapchora Tea Company is currently the 47th most valuable stock on the NSE with a market capitalization of 831 million Kenyan shillings, which makes about 0.038% of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And you can see that it's a company that is really competing and has gained, when we look at the recorded gains for yesterday, 6% gain. It closed with the day with 106.25 Kenyan shillings. While when you look at the previous closing day, we had about 100.25 Kenyan shillings. And the company began with the year with about 95.5 Kenyan shillings and has since gained 11.3% on that price valuation, ranking it the 9th on the Kenyan stock market in terms of year-to-date performance out of the 65 listed equities. Kapchora Tea Company, however, is the 48th most traded owned stock over the past 3 months, and over these past 3 months we have seen a total volume of about 42,600 shares over the period, with an average of 676 shares traded per session. There's been a volume high of over 42,600 shares that was recorded and achieved on the 30th of June 2022 for the same period. And you can see several activities on the market there for the Kapchora Tea Company. And that was the update on the Kenyan market. You can invest in the Kenyan market through various stock brokers, especially those with partnerships in Kenya. Yesterday we had KCB Bank here. We had the Standard Bank Group here, and they have a brokerage firm, which is the SBG Securities, which can be able also to trade on your behalf in Kenya because they have a subsidiary there as well at Standard Bank Group. And of course that brings us to the end of the analysis here. You can of course follow for more on the Uganda Securities Exchange. You can follow for more on Smart24 TV, that is on our Twitter handle. You can also follow through some of the feed we put onto our various social media platforms, and you can follow me personally on Anthony Sebali at Anthony Sebali. That is my Twitter handle for more information. Wind up, of course, just a reminder here of the opportunities you can find on the stock market. This is not a market for the wealthy. It's a market for you and me, people like common people, traders, students, anyone can be able to trade on these markets. All you have to do is open yourself an SCD account by dialing *165 star. When you do that, you definitely access the Uganda Securities Exchange. Remember, you must be an MTN subscriber, at least at the moment. That is the provision we have. And when you access the Uganda Securities Exchange, you will be able to open an SCD account. And after opening the account, they'll give you a list of stockbrokers from which you will choose your most appropriate broker whom you would want to work with. This broker comes in the middle of you and the exchange. You don't want to be able to know exactly what's happening at the exchange in at every single moment during trading. So the stockbroker will help you intermediate between you and the exchange. And when this happens, definitely trade will be done. I would like also to talk about the other side of the market. That is the debt instruments. Now, these debt instruments are available still, options for you to be able to invest in. Now, why are these very, very important? These are very important because we are helping government get revenue. As you know, government has a budget. For example, this year, a total budget of over 48.1 trillion, and this money comes from several sources. There is collection of government taxes. There are several government ventures that government can get into to get money, grants, and then you have borrowing. Now, borrowing can be domestic or foreign, and there are questions about the Eurobond, for example. Those are means of government borrowing from, for example, Europe, where you have sometimes subsidized loans for governments. But still, these loans come with very high interest rates. Sometimes we fail to catch up on some of these, especially very expensive loans, non-concessional loans from these foreign countries, which come with conditions, which come with very many other hindrances, and our government is trying to run away from some of these to get into more friendly instruments, and these are the domestic borrowing mechanisms. Government borrows domestically through the Bank of Uganda. The Bank of Uganda auctions the instruments. It auctions instruments like the bonds. These are long term, starting 3 years. You have a 3-year bond, you have a 5-year bond, you have a 7 years, you have a 20 years and a 30 years bond as well on the market. And these bonds are given specific coupons, or what we call a coupon rate, and that is the interest rate with which they come. And these interest rates are accrued after 6 months. So you have, for example, 100 billion worth of a certain bond, and every 6 months we expect maybe a 17% of coupon, and these coupons come in to give, of course, back to the people that are be able to invest in these instruments. And a unit of bond, when you want to buy a bond, you don't buy the whole bond. You may not be able to buy the whole bond because usually there are huge amounts of money, 200 billion, 300 billion, and so on, 180 billion. Those are the ones that are listed on the exchange. But if you have 100,000, that's the beginning price. Yeah, you can buy one at 100,000, you can buy one at 200,000, at 300,000, at $1 million, and so on. But you will not be able to buy one at 120, 158, because these are counted in units of 100,000. So you have 1.1 million, that's okay. You have 1 million, so long as it's in the multiples of 100,000 each bond. So when you access this bond, you get 17% maybe of that 100,000. That's about 17,000 after 6 months. That's exactly what you should expect from the government as your coupon. And these are the financial markets, which we call risk, almost 100% risk-free, almost, because government is not going anywhere. Government is not going to fail to raise money. Government is collecting taxes every now and then, so you wouldn't expect really government to be able to default on their plan of paying back to you. And this is exactly what most people are looking at, especially in this period as we go through inflation. Government bonds have become quite expensive. They have become so dear that even the foreign some foreign investors are running away from probably the stock markets and investing into these other very seemingly attractive ventures or instruments to invest in at the moment. And of course, we look at that as one of the things that will influence the growth of the markets as well. That is in line of the debt instruments. OTEX East Africa gives you a different picture of these businesses because OTEX says you can buy this bond or bill in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda by using your phone. Now, when you dial *292 hash, that is what the ZABU initiative is all about. And this gives you more liquidity because you can be able to withdraw, you can be able to deposit, and you can be able to also get more value onto your yourself, your money through these bonds by using this ZABU initiative, dialing *292 hash. And there's no intermediate person whatsoever, no broker. You're doing this entirely on your own and getting it out of the way on your own. And to cap the crisis, of course, governments borrow. And of course, reports are showing right now that government is considering to change the future borrowing in face of mounting pressure in order to be able to manage the debt and repayment according to the Ministry of Finance. Debt has been mounting for several years, for several months, especially within the last month, conceding that it was no longer sustainable. However, Minister of Finance Matiaka Saija said that government would continue to borrow unless Ugandans paid more taxes to be able to fund a rise in the priority demands. Uganda's debt to gross domestic product ratio, measured as the level of indebtedness, rose to 54% in June from 49.1% based on the cumulative debt data that is between the month of July 2021 and June 2022. So currently we are standing at a 54% debt to GDP ratio. This is a measure of the indebtedness of a country. How indebted is a country, depending on how much you produce. And we are right now currently above the 50%, meaning 50% of our assets. I think you remember that famous headline that went around from the Daily Monitor that was saying that every Ugandan currently owes 1.5 million. Every Ugandan, regardless of age, regardless of working class, every Ugandan owes 1.5 million. And I think we are supposed currently 0.5 trillion.